I want to talk about some of the tracks you've written and recorded that I really like, and this was hard to call this out. Let's start with Illuminations from Get Some Go Again. That track rocks, and your guitar playing throughout there is awesome. But what I really love is I have never, ever heard harmonics used like that in the beginning of a solo. And I thought, what, that's the first piece of music I heard from you, remember? And I'm like, I immediately called up my son. I'm like, I got to find this fucking guy, who he is. And I was like, I've never heard that. It was so creative. How the hell, like, what, like, I don't want to sound like what inspired you, but like, what inspired you?
You know what I think inspired me is the beginning of White Wedding by Billy Idol, because he goes all harmonics. So I think,
yeah, but that's not part of the solo almost.
No, true.
You know what I mean? This is like that was like that, because it was so like cool. It was like the energy like poured out immediately, and I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be fucking cool, man.
Thank you. No, I mean, I'm sure there was something that made me go put that there or whatever, but
I've never heard that before or after.
And maybe it's because that song is so hard hitting that
it's a very intense song,
that it was almost like a percussion kind of thing, you know.
That's interesting, man. So and again, that was the first album that you did with him. How did your expectations differ from reality of the whole thing, musically? And there were a bunch of mind-blowing moments from being in New York, visiting New York and hearing Illumination on the radio. When we played in Philadelphia, my parents came, and so cool.
They had the Tower Records on South Street, and we were playing on South Street. So me and my mom and dad walked to Tower Records, and we walked in, and they were playing Get Some Go Again album. And that's whenever something like that happens, it's like, hey,
that's my boy.
But the other side, it's funny too, because I mentioned that podcast that Henry did talking about it. And in that podcast, he reveals that the label hated it. And
the record?
The label DreamWorks hated it. They told him that they hated it. And he says, I never really told the guys that because I didn't want to, we were about to go on the road. And so that's kind of cool that I didn't know that.
No, it's very cool. That's the last thing you want to know. Hey, our first record together, the label hates it. Yeah, that's not really good for your confidence to go out on a tour.
It's a rock record. That's their hate.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I just remembered as well, that period was so exciting because, like I said, Henry will call, hey, do you want to go to Ozzy Osbourne's record label party? And then for the record, we were all Thin Lizzy fanatics, and he calls and says, hey, I know Scott Gorham. Maybe we should do a Thin Lizzy song, and Scott Gorham can do the guitar. You and Scott Gorham can do the guitars. And it was like, oh, and then he made it happen, and
so you got to jam with Scott. Oh, that's pretty cool, man.
And we met Wayne Kramer by playing on that record too. He plays on LA Money Train, and that, we worked with Wayne for a few years after that as well. So it was, Henry was always really cool. And, even to the point where, here's another story I've never told before, but it feels like the time is right. I've told friends, but, never publicly. But, I came up with all the guitar riffs and most of the song ideas for Mother Superior and stuff, and we would all get together. But we made a thing when we got together, the three of us, we'll just split everything, So
I noticed that. That on the credits.
Yeah. And that was just trying to keep it together as a group. So on that first tour with Henry, we were walking in the snow. I can't remember where we were, but it was snowing. We were walking to a record store together. And Henry said, you're going to split those songs with the guys? And I said, yeah. And he's like, you don't have to. And I said, I know, but we made a thing. And But I always think that that's cool. He was looking out for me, and maybe as time went on, it made me realize, yeah, you know, the songs are more valuable than just giving them away to have people play them with you. You know what I mean? But it's just funny. But I still split them with the guys when we did it. But he was
all the
like,
records you've I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No.
I noticed, because I look for that just because I'm curious, you know, who wrote this song. All the records you've done are like that.
Yeah.
No matter who you're playing with.
Yeah. Except for my solo records are all me, obviously. And then Get Off, the Motor Sister record, is, I think I wrote 9 out of 12 by myself. And that was super exciting for me, because I'm open for, you know, a couple of the songs on Get Off. Scott Ian had a bridge riff or something, so he would get some co-writes. But that was really cool that when that record came out, I was like, wow, you know, I wrote these songs and I gave them to everybody, and they said, yeah, you know, and nobody changed anything, you know. So that's exciting. But I do like writing with other people.
Yeah.
And especially, when I write with Pearl, we don't get together until we have the ideas together. But I just let songs come out that I think would sound good with her singing, and I'll write some chords and a little melody, and then I like hum a demo for her, and then she writes the lyrics for those, because she's singing them. So I like for her to have that space in it. So that works really well too, because I love writing words, but sometimes it's like, whew, I don't have to write the words for those, you know.
Well, yeah, especially if someone else is singing. I mean, it is more challenging, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you write? I think I saw it with Nally Colt on one of those songs.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I had him on the show here a few years back.
You did?
Like,
wow.
I was like, Nally Colt? I was like, because again, I go through all the credits. I'm like, Nally Colt? Yeah. That's wild. That's weird.
We played together with Pearl a few times, but he was, in the early Pearl days, he was her guitar player when I had stuff with Daniel or Rollins or whatever was going on. But we did a bunch of gigs together. He's amazing. And when I saw Pearl play with him doing my parts, I was like, wow, that dude's great. You know? He really like understood what I was, playing.